It is a cozy fall morning. I'm chilling. I'm loving life. It's the best time of the year for sure to play some games. And it's been another month, over a month since my last What I Played Recently video. This has become my favorite series on the channel, mainly because I get to hear what you're playing and get great suggestions and ideas from you. So please, first of all, drop a comment down below. Let me know what you played in the last month, if you liked it, and what you're thinking about playing next. This last month with games was kind of perfect. I played Lunistice, a little Splitgate 2, beat Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 2 Episode 1, and I got through Ocarina of Time. Oh my gosh, it was really, really good. Lunistice I've talked about extensively here, so I'll just briefly say it is a retro-inspired modern 3D platformer with the really cool low-poly vibes and graphics. It's a game you can beat in about 2 or 3 hours. It's got a killer scoring system though, and it's designed with replayability and kind of speed running in mind. Unreal how good a game this is. It's inexpensive. I cannot recommend it enough. I've again talked about it in previous videos, but love this game. You've got to go check out Lunistice. The music, the visuals, the gameplay. It is like Sonic Adventure, but done in its own little unique way. And it's, like I said, short. If you like games that are quick and easy to tackle, that are well worth the value, I think Lunistice lands that perfectly. Then shortly thereafter, the Splitgate 2 Alpha released, and I played a few hours of that, and it was pretty fun. You know, I am more of a fan of the arena shooter vibes that the original had. I don't love the class element. You know, they bring in this sort of class shooter, hero shooter vibe with some of the design decisions that they made, not a ton of verticality on the maps. But I know 1047 is going to listen closely to feedback and make a game that they think is best. And I hope it's super successful. I still think it's got a lot of potential. It's a lot of fun. I don't really know if the broader player base is ever going to vibe with the Portal system. I didn't for a long time. But then once I'd played the game enough, I had learned that you should rebind the Portal buttons if you're on mouse and keyboard to the mouse wheel. Once you start using the Portal mechanic, it is super fun, but there is a pretty big learning curve to jump over that I don't know if a lot of people will do. So it'll be interesting to see how Splitty 2 lands. Excited to see how that game shifts and transforms over time. And then after that, Half-Life 2. Oh my gosh, Half-Life 2 is so incredible still. I've been uploading footage from Half-Life 2 like this whole month because it's stuck in my mind. It's like all I can think about. The game design, even though it's a linear corridor style shooter, holds up so well. And it felt like you have so much freedom in the gameplay choices. You can approach scenarios in so many different ways. I think that sandbox is darn near perfect. From the physics, the gravity gun, and like I said, you can approach almost every situation from 20 different perspectives and it will play out differently. The enemy AI is still better than a lot of modern FPS games, and it laid the groundwork for so much of what we experience to this day. Half-Life 1 and Half-Life 2 are so good, and I'm going through Episode 2 right now. After that, I think maybe the Entropy 02 mod that many of you mentioned and recommended. I cannot get enough of it, and I just think, first of all, it has aged perfectly. I beat this game for the first time in 2011. And back then I was just blown away. When I was younger trying to play it around release, it came on like 4 discs and you still had to update it from Steam. It was like the first Steam game, if memory serves correctly, right? But I was on terrible internet at the time, which had really strict bandwidth caps, and I kept hitting it every time I would update the game. I think I only got it installed like once when I was younger, and I think I got to Ravenholm. And that was about it. But wow, out of anything I've really covered, I feel like on the channel so far over the last 3-4 months, Half-Life 2 is a #1 recommendation. It is phenomenal. And then sticking with like some of the all-time greats theme, I beat Ocarina of Time 3D this last month. Now this one I've been playing through over a longer time frame. I really sunk most of the time into it over the last week and a half, ever since I crashed on the mountain bike. If you guys have been watching the channel, you knew I took a solid tumble a few weeks ago, dislocated my shoulder. So I've had a lot of downtime, not being able to use the keyboard, having to keep my arm pretty slung up. And the 3DS kind of fit perfectly with that, laying in bed and resting and putting in 20, 30 minutes here and there, because that is really what it's looking like. I'm slowing down with the amount of games that I'm playing right now. On days where I have to produce a video, I'm really not able to play much of anything. So if I'm lucky, I'll get like an hour in the evening to throw down some footage, to record, and to push through a game. So OOT 3D was just amazing. I've got a full video talking about the entire experience if you want to know all the details, but just, it's one of my favorite games of all time, and it held up. It totally held up. I should have probably talked about the Ship of Harkinian version of the game, which is the source code PC port. It can run widescreen. It can do like much higher frame rates. It's got a lot of quality of life things that are great. But I chose the 3DS version mainly because I've been wanting to play my 3DS again. And granted, I don't have a 3DS. It's a new 2DS XL that I bought used like 2018 or something like that. Maybe it was 2019. I can't remember. But when Monster Hunter World came out, fell in love with that game. And I wanted to go play the old Monster Hunter titles, but I also wanted to be able to record it. And I didn't realize at the time, you can either buy a very expensive capture card that you have to mod, like I think solder it into your 3DS or 2DS. And I don't know how to solder, and that's not a journey I wanted to go on. Or you could have a homebrewed 2DS or 3DS, and there's an app that lets you transmit your gameplay wirelessly. It's not as good, it's not as nice, but it worked. So I bought a used homebrewed 2DS back in the day, because I think homebrewing it was a little bit tougher back then. Now it's pretty simple. This has been my favorite thing in the last month, one of my favorite things over the last few years, because I've got on here backups of my old GBA games, things that I grew up playing, and they run flawlessly on the system. It also runs natively DS games, so you have the entire DS library, which I'm getting to discover for the first time. And then a few 3DS games that I'm pushing through. Now that I finished Ocarina of Time, kind of playing a little bit of the A Link Between Worlds, which is seen as like one of the best games on the system. I love this thing because I can throw it in my bag, play 20 minutes on my lunch break, and feel like I'm getting just a fun, focused gaming experience. I love the Switch, don't get me wrong, but it's pretty big. And I feel a little uncomfortable, like I'm not gonna throw that thing in a bag and just pull it out. This old clamshell design, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go play like the old Mario Kart from Game Boy Advance or some Advance Wars or maybe a little Golden Sun or Yoshi's Island or something. It is a really, really cool system, and I would recommend if you have any interest, it's a homebrew beast. I've even played a little Final Fantasy VII on this thing, emulating PlayStation 1. Granted, you're reaching the upper limits of like the emulation chance, but man, the SNES games, this thing is a beast. And that's been the games I've played the last month. But I'm getting so stoked on these older games that I'm really interested in kind of preserving and playing old titles in a way that doesn't require a bunch of money. I have a Wii U. I bought a Wii U for Breath of the Wild, not knowing it would be on the Switch. And my Wii U has sat pretty dormant all of these years. So I just soft modded it, got homebrew on the system, and now I have backups of my Nintendo 64 games on here. And I've got some old SNES games, even GBA games like Metroid Fusion. And this is kind of what I'm vibing with right now. I'm kind of enjoying the older games. I know on the PC front, as mentioned, I think Half-Life 2 Episode 2, then Entropy Zero 2. But I'd love some suggestions. Are there any really cool titles coming out that you're excited for, or things you would like me to take a look at? Curious, any of you played Space Marine 2? I've heard a lot of praise recently that game is like a modern Xbox 360 title, like a Gears of War, one of those complete experiences, which sounds totally up my alley. I'm really curious, what do you think? And are any of you playing some of these retro things? What are your suggestions? I always learn so much from you when I get to make these videos. So many great suggestions. I just want to thank you for another awesome month. Make sure you're taking it easy. Make sure you're enjoying some of this great fall weather if you've got the ability to get outside. That has been really the last month. The turning point for me is just recording less. I'm not staying up as late, trying to work on the channel or get as much done. And I'm just thankful everybody has been supportive, as I've sort of reduced some of the frequency or the variety of games that you're seeing here. It's been really nice to intentionally pick a title or two, go through it, and just get to talk about things that are cool and that we're passionate about with gaming and with life. So thanks. I really appreciate you so much. Have a good start to your week. I'll see you again on Wednesday.